try to do something that I haven't done before, as I sense a direction following the prayer time. I prepare notes and find it very challenging without notes because I didn't show a dictionary. But I want to speak from the book of Joshua chapter 1 and try to draw out some principles that you can apply to your context and your situation. Now, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spoke unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' servant, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, you and all the people, unto the land I will give them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread, I have given unto you, as I promised Moses. From the wilderness of Lebanon unto the great river of the Euphrates and the land of the Hittites unto the great sea, towards the going down of the sun shall be your coast. There shall not be able to stand before you any man all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, I will be with you. I will not leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and of good courage. Verse 7, be strong and of good courage. Verse 9, be strong and of good courage. And I try to understand the context of Joshua's own experience, because the church of Israel, the church is people, not building, was going through a transition in life. And handling a transition in your life, because you are the church, can be very challenging. Okay. Transitions might look easy from an outside until you have to walk through the transition from the inside. Middle moments, point A, point B. We want to get from point A to point B as quickly as possible, but things may not always work the way we want. And I've heard people talk about the Joshua generation. We forget the fact that Joshua was about 80 plus at the time. Okay, so everything that you want to happen in life won't happen as quickly as you want it to. How many of you have discovered that? I've learned my prayer life has been refocused on one reality. I don't come to God now to bless my plan. I do what God is already blessing, because that's the direction He has set for my life. Okay, so I try to look at my context and see what God is blessing and do what He is blessing, because that is where the direction lies. And Joshua, I used to think that Moses was the greatest leader in the Old Testament, and I have had to review my thinking of it. Because if he was the greatest leader, he would have taken the people of Israel into the promised land. He didn't. He didn't. So he failed. Moses was a great prophet. He got the 10 Commandments and he gave it to the people. But he allowed the spirit of the people to infect and influence his spirit. And when God said, speak to the rock, he struck it. And as a consequence, he could see the promised land, but wasn't taken in. Now, from time to time, we have to develop leadership in a church that is forward-going. And in the natural, we look at the most competent people and assume that they can fulfill a position of leadership because of their secular competencies. But often you discover that the people who are almost always the most competent are not the most consistent. If there is one characteristic that can define Joshua's life, it's consistency. From Exodus 17 right through Scripture, if you do a timeline of Joshua, you will discover that Joshua was in places that only a consistent person should be. So God gave him the responsibility. Second thing about Joshua was he didn't really feel up to the responsibility that was assigned to him. That's why it was given. You know, in the last week I raised up 4 new home cell leaders. I had to do it. And I found them not on the basis of their competencies, but on the basis of their consistency. Because when push comes to shove, they'll stay committed for the long haul. Ministry is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And for 40 years of Joshua's life, you would think they were wasted years. Joshua wanted to go into the promised land. He was one of the two, he and Caleb, because they had a different spirit in them. And here, Joshua's life for 40 years was defined by the failure of somebody else, the people of Israel, to exercise faith. And you would think, why am I disadvantaged? God is more interested in working in you than is interested in working through you. You discover that when you're in your 70s. Sometimes we have this great big plan to convert the universe, but we can't go and share our faith with our next door neighbor. Starts there. For 40 years, Joshua had to consistently wait on his middle moments until the time came for Joshua to give him a breakthrough. In the modern church and in modern Christendom, we want everything now. We think we can just put our prayer request in a microwave, press 2 minutes because 3 minutes is too much, and in 2 minutes God will serve what we want. God of the Bible works more on the basis of a conventional oven than a microwave. Jesus, for 30 years, walked this earth, and we hear nothing about it until the time. So, if you don't understand how to manage your transitions and navigate them and stay committed to what you believe God has called you to do, you can get very frustrated with life. I don't know about you, but I get frustrated very easily when life is static. But there are times, I want to read something. The middle is not just about being patient. It is also about being persistent. Joshua stayed committed to what he believed was the will of God for his life, even though that will and plan and destiny was put on hold for 40 years because of somebody else's disobedience. In the middle of every situation, there is always a lesson to learn. There is a ball we need to focus on that if caught will change our future. You know, there is a little game called picking in the middle. When we are little kids, you know, somebody throws the ball and you got 8, 9 people and they throw the ball and you're supposed to catch it. And middle moments can be frustrating. Frustrating. Because you want to see God do something in your life and you say, God, I want him to do it now. But God is not in such a hurry as you are. Because there are some lessons to learn in the middle that can only be learnt in the middle that will help you and me after we navigate that middle. How many of you are, I want everything now times? Don't raise your hand, I'll point you out. I want it now. Slow down. Slow down. David, I'm reminded of David in the wilderness. He said, God, one day I'm going to perish at the hands of Saul. So I'd rather go down to the land of the Philistines and find a comfortable life there. 1 Samuel 27. He looked for an easy way out because he believed that God was not working according to his time frame. He had the anointing, but he didn't have the authority. Because God was more interested in shaping David than making him a king before he was ready. And so God tells Joshua, Moses is dead. Joshua knew that. Joshua knew that. Was God giving Joshua information? No, he wasn't. What worked for you in 2017 may not work for you in 2018. In Isaiah 43 it says God wants to do a new thing. He's talking to Israel. We need to interpret that text in the context of which it was written, the broader. They were in captivity. God hadn't come through for them in the way they expected. And here God had to do a new thing. You can't have your Moses and Joshua at the same time. Jesus said you can't serve two masters. You got to love one and hate the other. He didn't apologize for his words. Sometimes we want part of Moses and we want part of Joshua. It's not going to work. Moses is dead. Leave the past behind. However miserable or wonderful that past may be, your future is not in your past. That's where persistence comes. I am willing to stay committed to the future, not to the past. However glorious that past may have been. You know, like I always say, in the book of Haggai, when they built the temple, the guys in there said, nothing like the good old days. There was nothing good about the good old days. You know, Sri Lanka, hanging on the footboard of a bus, it wasn't good for me, it may be good for you. And when the bus takes a bend, you're afraid you'll fall off. What was so good about that? And what happens is when you live in the shadow of the past, you rob yourself of the future because you can't see the future. So managing your middle moments is not just about being patient, but being persistent. It's not about waiting for someone to give you the ball, says a writer. It's about going out and getting the ball yourself. There are some things God will do for us. There are some things we've got to do for ourselves. If you're sitting around sucking in oxygen, hoping for something to happen, it's not going to happen. Canon James Wong, who was a key figure in the charismatic revival of the Anglican Church in Singapore, he told me this. He said, if you want to get 100 people into a church meeting, you better be ready to give out 10,000 invitations. He said, that is the way it works. So maybe some of us are in a cell meeting and we do all the praying and we do all the stuff and go through all the religious jargon, but it's not going to happen unless and until all of you decide we are going to go out and do something. Acts chapter 17, Paul went among the many to reach the one. Crossing over is challenging for one generation. That's why God had to wait until that entire generation died in the wilderness. You know what the wilderness is? It's a place of lost potential. It's a place where a dream can die, not because of God's indifference, but of our unwillingness to wait connected to His purpose. There are many dreams that will never see the light of day because we just sit and dream and do nothing about it. There are some people who live their lives in the tomorrow. There are others who live their lives in the yesterday. Today is a gift from God. Use the day wisely. Moses is dead. God was giving Joshua his own space to express his own gift. The gift of God within Joshua lay dormant for 40 years. And yet, because of his consistency, God encouraged him. Because he didn't feel up to it. He didn't feel he had the competencies. God says it's nothing to do with your competencies, it's to do with your consistency. Just timeline Joshua's life. And you will see his consistency. His life is marked by a spirit of excellence and consistency. And then God gives him something, enough space for him to exercise his own gift. Moses was an iconic leader. And Joshua felt, how can I fill his shoes? But God says, Joshua, as I was with Moses, I will be with you. That's what we need. Our middle moments can be challenging because they cause a shift in focus. Don't look at your life's challenges as they are. With God's support and assistance, look at what they can become. That's the difference. Because when God comes into your life, the equation and imbalance changes. There was a river, the Jordan was overflowing its banks. And if you Google, you can get photos of the Jordan overflowing its banks. And these guys didn't know how to swim. They didn't have swimwear. How do you take people across? 3 times, be strong and of good courage. Be strong and of good courage. Joshua needed that encouragement to move from fear to persistence. And we have to learn to pray and pray through for our breakthroughs. And then we got to be willing to get into the water and do something we never did before. Some people are waiting for their miracle to come to them. It may not always work that way. Sometimes it does, but not always. In Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 6 and 7, the Lord said, you have dwelt too long on this mountain. Turn around, take your journey, and go to the mount of the Amorites, and unto all the places thereunto, in the plain, in the hills, in the valley, that I have given you. Behold, I have set the land before you. Go in and possess it. That's where the problem is. Because every time there is progress, there will be challenge to progress. Spiritual progress must be undergirded by spiritual warfare. The enemy of our souls will challenge our right to go forward. And God is telling Joshua, as He's telling you, He's speaking to you inspirationally. You have to go forward when it seems there is nothing to go forward to. There is an obstacle in front of you. But if you and I are people of faith, we will turn our obstacles into opportunities. I am wired that way. Yesterday I just did a Google on DNA. Just to find out why I'm wired the way I'm wired, and I discovered some reality. I have learned to turn an obstacle into an opportunity. Because if we saw obstacles, we'll still be at Harrisfield Primary School Hall till Jesus comes. I don't know about you, but that's not my life. Somehow we believe that if God is in it, there are no obstacles. Hello? Read the Bible. The obstacle is a sign that you are moving in the direction God wants you to move. Because Peter says, resist the devil. Why should we resist? Because there will be obstacles. Paul says in the Corinthians, God has set before me an open door, but there are many adversaries. Not one, many. So don't let obstacles diminish your faith and the potential that God has put in you that He wants to draw. Let me tell you something. My Bible teaches me that God never promised me an easy life. But He said, I will be with you. The land is before you, the opportunity is there, but there will be challenges to the fulfillment of the destiny and purpose that I have for you. Your ability to navigate those challenges will determine whether you succeed or fail. That's why we need consistency. God is consistent with His word. And you and I need to understand that if we want to get from point A to point B, we cannot allow the luxury of allowing discouragement to direct the course of our lives. I can write a book on discouragement. I have all the experience to do that. God doesn't call me. But I have learned, like Paul, from my own context to encourage others who are going through that experience. So what? Satan planned for evil, God turned for good. 40 years. That's a long time to wait. Long time. Jesus 30 years. David 15 plus years. And so David allows his emotions to set the course and direct his life. And he goes to the land of the Philistines. And he dwells there. He's tired, he is weary, he's exhausted. He doesn't consult God for the next move in his life. And sometimes when you and I are going through challenges, we can make bad choices. Never make a decision when you are emotionally, spiritually tired. More often than not, you make a bad one. He shifts location, geographical. You know, some people say the grass is greener on the other side of the hill. I used to think so. No. I change my, it's green where you water it. You don't like the job. How many of you don't like your job? Don't put your hand up. I don't like mine either. I'm just called. I don't like the vocation. I'm called to the vocation. That's the difference. So you think the solution is to change the job? Or you know, you're stuck in a marriage and you just want to trade in the Volkswagen and get a BMW. You know, Stay in it. Look at the bright side. We are not stuck in something. If you look at it that way, you'll always be negative. Sometimes I wonder whether my wife thinks I'm stuck in this marriage. Better or worse till you mount the hearse. To live with me isn't easy, you know that. When I became a Christian, the first thing I joined was the Sunday school, as a Sunday school teacher. And after 3 weeks, a foreign lady came and told me, Brother David, I really don't think your call is children's ministry. Clip them on the ear. Find your gifting and calling elsewhere. I did. Platform. I had no calling to children's ministry. I was going to volunteer, but I know I won't get the job. How many of you know I have no calling to children's ministry? Put their hand up, everybody's praying. You know I'm not so nasty, I just look like that. And this is for a couple of you ladies, okay? A couple of you ladies who think I'm anti-feminist. You know, I counted the number of home cell leaders in our church, and there were 9 women and 2 men. So you have to change your thinking. 9 ladies. And some of these ladies think I'm anti-feminist. I'm not. You just got a bad attitude towards me. Change the attitude. 9. I couldn't believe. I did 3 more and I'll be like the 12. We'll have the 12 apostles. But some are apostles, some are epistles. I'm sure some of you think, some of you ladies, wonderful ladies who are smiling and think, how does Liz live with that? You know, somebody told me yesterday, you know, Liz balances you off. I say, yeah, right. That's the Liz you see. Hallelujah. Stay with it. God will come through. He's on your side. Believe that. Joshua is apprehensive. He doesn't feel up to the task. But we don't need to feel up to the task. That is why we are called. In Acts chapter 5, you know, when they looked at Peter and John, they took knowledge of them that they had been with Jesus. They were not smart guys. I like what Mitch McConnell from the Republican Party said yesterday. He said, I wasn't the first in my class, but I wasn't the last either. And I said, Mitch, that makes 2 of us mentally, because I was one before the last. You got it, you didn't. Don't let your mind determine the direction of your life and your destiny and limit you to a confined life in the wilderness. It's a place of lost dreams, lost opportunity, where potential, God had put potential in Deuteronomy, but they let the potential seep out through a lack of self-belief and a lack of belief in God's ability to do what He has promised. God plus 1 is a majority. Stop confessing negatively. Stop speaking negatively. Speak inspiration to your situation. Ezekiel 37, God told Ezekiel, speak to the bones. Speak to a dead situation in your life. The dead things can come alive. Whatever the context is, personality. I refuse to allow discouragement to charter my course, because I believe that with God's grace upon my life, created to live in the shadow of failure. My own failure or somebody else's failure. We have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. That is what Christianity is about. The redemptive purpose of God worked in and through our life, that God can take our failures and turn it around, because He is Jehovah God who created this universe. But He makes all things beautiful in His time. 3:11 Ecclesiastes. All things in His time, not mine. Joshua was content to wait. Wait, I say, wait upon the Lord, says the psalmist, and He will fulfill the desire of your heart. Waiting is difficult in this Western context. It's difficult. It's painful. Progress involves pain. But God can turn our pain around and use our pain to encourage others who also went through it. I comfort others by the same comfort I have been comforted. So, this is what I want to tell you. The 40 years that Joshua spent in the wilderness was not wasted. No experience is wasted. Good or bad, God can turn it around. Joshua made 40 years wasted. It wasn't. God was shaping, molding, building character into Joshua's life to take him into a destiny and purpose that God had designed not only for him, but the people who would follow him. So God says, Joshua, I'm with you. That should settle the account. In your middle moments, in the moments when you can't measure your progress, I'm with you. I will not. Because he needed the encouragement 3 times. You know, when Jesus said, verily, 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 I say unto you, he's trying to draw attention to a truth. And God is trying to encourage us today. Stay with it. Stick with it. If you do so long enough, you will go into the place that I have already planned for you, but it will require a measure of responsibility on your part. You know, in the book of Proverbs chapter 24, there is an interesting verse. I was meditating on this. Proverbs 24, verse 30 and 31. I went by the field of the slothful and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns and nettles and covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw it and considered it and looked upon it and received the instruction. You know, the writer is saying, I walked past a field of the slothful and the vineyard of the man who was void of understanding. And it was all covered with thorns and nettles and the water broken up. You know what had happened? God gives us a responsibility, but it is up to us to develop our responsibility. The pastors can't do it for you. The Hope Cell leaders can't do it for you. You got to develop your own spiritual life. God holds you accountable. Too often, I heard of a certain pastor who had taken 1 month off. He is entitled to 1 month. Right? He has taken the sabbatical or whatever. Sabbatical is 3 months. He had taken a month off and he told his congregation, don't contact me. There is a group of leaders, not one leader, 2 leaders, there's a whole group. Contact them because they have the competences to do what I am doing. Don't call me. And he said, he remembered, oh, good on him. He had the gumption to do it. Hello? Because you are responsible for your life. Your growth. You can't expect me to come and dig up your garden and pull out your weeds. You still love me? You got to pull out your weeds. I walk to some gardens. Can just put these lights off so we can show some people what their garden spiritually looks like. Look at that. Have you gone into a home where the garden's been like that? Invite me. Oh, get the youth to clean up. Yeah, they're not here to clean your mess. I would often hear people sitting here say, get the youth, we'll give them some biryani, cheapskate. Biryani costs $15, $3 a kilo of chicken, kilo of rice, $1.50. Pay a gardener and get the job done. The youth are not here to clean your garden that you messed up. And all the young people say, hallelujah, look at those guys, they are anointed. It's my garden. I pay a gardener. I told my wife on the honey, when I say honey, the years go up because she knows I'm out to get something from her. I said, can I teach you how to lawn mow? She said, now you're taking it a bit too far. Chris, it's our garden. It's our responsibility. Your spiritual life is your responsibility. Mine is mine. I can't weed your garden even though I like to. And I am amazed at the people who watch over their garden carefully, painfully. And there's a metaphor there, whatever that word means. And that is often a reflection of their personal life. So today when you go home, look at your garden. And you see that spirit of excellence go right through. There are some men here who clean their kitchens and sinks. Wow, what a job. Those are the guys I want on my team. Because everything they do, painstakingly excellent. And there are others who are good people, but after you tell them to take a clean, you wonder what they clean. Our life, how do I give it? That's a... Okay, you can put this light on. Thank you. So the Lord said, Joshua, I'm with you. Go forward. Preparation, verse 11. Prepare you victuals for 3 days later you shall cross. There are two principles there. Everything worth doing in the kingdom requires preparation. And in our culture, we got a lot to learn. As a church, we got a lot to learn. Every idea seems to come up in thin air. You can't do it. It's not going to work before it starts. Preparation, planning. Your life, you need planning. Some people don't know how to manage money. They just go to the shop and they feel like buying something and they buy and they don't, and they end up buying not what they wanted to buy or intended to buy. You need to plan your life financially. And they're complaining, I don't have enough money. No. You have the money, you just don't know how to manage it. The guy in Proverbs 24 was given a responsibility and he had potential put into that land, but he neglected. So you don't need to pray for God to give you more money. You need to manage the money that you have. There is one person in church life who is a single income person, and I've seen that person buying dog food. I think, wow, lucky dog, best quality dog food. Not the no-name brand, I'm not one against the other, but that individual is living a quality of life that is reflected even in the dog food they buy. Because they have learned how to manage money. If you don't manage money, money will manage you. Amen? I'm not saying, be careful, stingy, count your to $2. That's not what I'm saying. Enjoy life. in manageable proportions. If you can't afford something, don't buy it. Rebuke the devil in Jesus' name. Manage money. Manage your marriage. Don't neglect it. In our culture, we neglect what is important. Put investment into a marriage. If you don't invest into a marriage, there is nothing to take out when the challenges. Every marriage in itself is challenging, right? How many of you agree? Put your hand up. Others come up here, cast out the lying spirit in you. Challenges. Two different people coming together with two different views of life. But invest. Invest. It's like investing into a bank. Don't go to McDonald's and buy French fries because they're going at $2. If you don't make an investment in your marriage, which is vital and important, when you go through the struggle, there's nothing to take out. It's simple mathematics. Oh, but you know, we have to keep money for a rainy day. You know, somebody told me 3 days ago, Pastor, I kept money for a rainy day and you know what happened? It rained. Quest. For those of you who watch CNN Money, Quest, there's a guy called Quest, he must be on $1 million salary. He picks up a penny. And a lady passing by, only a lady would say that. It's only a penny. But he said, if you look after the penny will look after itself. And the penny will become a pound. So Joshua is asked to prepare. Without proper planning and preparation, nothing you do in life or in kingdom life will be successful. Just be a what you have. I can from experience tell whether something will be successful or not before it even starts. Not because I'm negative, because I understand certain biblical principles that operate in secular life and in the Christian. I think it was Jesus who said that the people of the world are wiser than the children of light. That is good. Planning. You and I must have a plan. We must have a time frame. And then, if you are praying for something, get God's mind. When you got a time frame, He said 3 days. You got to prepare. Within 3 days, you shall cross over. You're not going to cross over today. He can do it, but He wants us to prepare properly so that we can be effective in the kingdom. And we got to restructure everything we are doing to ensure that not only do we have a plan, we work out in advance what we expect as an outcome. I planned my whole year. I don't know, God will suddenly show up and say, go here, go there. I planned. Whole year. I can't afford the luxury of doing something without planning because I won't get the outcome. So in your personal life, go to Joshua. As he's telling you, have a plan. I never done it before. Write it down, get a book, plan. I have a diary, I have a calendar. And I go from time to time to the calendar, to the plan. What do I want to achieve? If you don't know what you are going to achieve, well, I'm going to show. The Lord has given you rest, verse 13, and has given you the land. You know, there's a rest. When you and I come into an understanding of God's ways, we can rest. And it's interesting that in Joshua chapter 3, the verse that we read during the prayer time, the waters was Joshua 3 verse 16, that the waters which came down from above stood and rose up upon a hill very far from the city, that is beside Zaratan, and those that came down towards the sea of the plain, even the salt sea failed and were cut off, and the people passed through. It took time for the miracle to filter through. We want everything now. Because somehow or other we believe falsely that God owes us something for our commitment to Him. He doesn't owe it. He doesn't. And there are times in life when we just got to let God be God. Doesn't make sense. I don't understand everything you're doing in my life. But whatever it is, I'm going to stay committed to you now because you said, I will be with you. I will be with you. I will be with you. That's it. That should be it. And I'm not saying it's easy, but Joshua just did it. So, middle moments are challenging moments that we maintain our persistence. We say, God, I cannot understand this. I'm too small to understand your greatness. And yet I know someday, somehow, I can't feel you, I can't sense you, but I let you be you. That's faith. For me, there is a greater testimony to unbelievers through pain and suffering and challenges than when something happens. How do you go through this? Grace of God. I had two non-Christian people come home when I was back after my bypass surgery and kneel at my bed, non-Christian, from an Eastern religious background, and cry to non-Christians. And they said, how can this happen? I said, God says my grace is sufficient. I don't understand it. I'm in a human body. I'm vulnerable to human pain and human suffering. But God, by His grace, will see me through. That was the bigger testament. I learned to comfort others by the same comfort I have been comforted. It didn't make sense. But sometimes what we are going through doesn't make sense to us. But why is it? Because we believe God. And so we hold on to Him because there's nothing else to hold on to. Faithful is He who promised. Jesus learned obedience by the things He suffered, says He. We don't understand everything that's happening in the universe. We think we do, but we don't. Because God's ways are further than our ways. Your thoughts are not my thoughts. Your ways are not my ways. But we will stay focused on what we are called to do. We will wait with great expectancy that the time will come when the waters will part. After 3 days, the priests had to get into the water. They had to do it in faith. And the people. And the miracle happened, many say, up there. And it took a while for the waters to dry. But they walked through. Because if God says to you, you will walk through, you will walk through. But He'll do it in His time and place. He makes all things beautiful in His time. You know, and there's great rejoicing. In the waiting period, in the middle moment, we learn what true faith is. True faith, though it be tried in the furnace, might be found unto honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. He's talking about faith. He's talking to Christians who are going through persecution. In 108 countries of the world, Christians are persecuted. Even while I'm speaking, there are Christians who are being martyred for the cause of Christ. Right now. While I'm speaking, who refuse the easier route because they see life from a bigger perspective. And when you and I see the life from a larger perspective, which is God's, it's easy to handle the middle moments. It's easy. Because we know He's with us. When the disciples were caught in the storm, He was there on the mountain praying. He saw them, they didn't see Him. Two perspectives. And they said, God, don't you care we perish? He doesn't care. If He said, you are going over to the other side, He'll take you to the other side. The disciples followed Jesus in obedience. He said, you go ahead of me in the gospel, you go ahead of me, I'll meet you on the other side. He didn't explain all the fine print. It's the fine print we got to read in the challenge. He just told them, you go, I'll be with you on the other side. And they got in the boat, and halfway through, they hit a storm, middle moment. And they're rowing and rowing and rowing, but they're in the same place. It's like some people. They are good people, they are bad people, but they are stuck at the gate. And then He appears. And comes the storm. And they go to the other side. If God has promised to take you to the other side, He will. But you have to determine what that other side is. I can't do it for you. The home center, I can't do it for you. There is no quick fix. I wish there was. There isn't. It's a journey with many stops and many starts. But the one thing we do know is this. If God has promised to take you to the other side, in the time of His choosing, He will. That is the God we serve, who is revealed to us in the person of Jesus. And Peter says, hold fast to your faith without wavering. James says, a wavering man is like he's unstable in all his ways. Don't allow your emotions to direct your life. Allow God's word to direct you. I'm not saying it's easy, but it's possible by the grace of God. Some of you have stories. Some of you have stories of God coming through in the way you wanted, and that's wonderful. Some of you have stories that God hasn't shown up yet, and that is also a testimony that you are staying steadfast in your faith because you are believing for a better tomorrow. Joshua had to believe. In 3 days he will see the miracle. For 3 days he had to wait. Wait, I say, wait on the Lord. It's hard to wait in today's context. We complain. When I go to the coffee shop near next door and she's serving one customer, I'm whinging mentally. I'm smiling. But I'm like, come on, quick, I'm going to get the coffee, get out of there. Because we are coming to this culture where we want everything now. You know, at Aldi, if there are 3 people in a queue, you get frustrated. If you are in Sri Lanka and you have to go to the hospital, you will get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and get up. And no guarantee you will get in. But we have come into this thinking that now, everything out there is now. And so when we come into the kingdom of God, we want everything now. But God says, slow. I'm trying to do something in you. And when I do what I have to do in you and that is finished, then I will do something. Wow. That's the promise of Joshua. Be strong enough to come. Moses is there. He's there. Your future is not in your past. When you focus on your past, you can't enter your future. For me, yesterday was yesterday. I have no time for yesterday. I've had some highs in yesterday, I've had some lows, but I'm looking 2018. What does 2018 present? Not just the plus, but the minus. What challenges can I expect? Anything possible. So I prepare for them as best as I can mentally. Because I realize if I can mentally get the Word of God into me, then I can walk through the waters that might stand in front of me. There are going to be waters. Though you walk through the fire, I tell you shall not be burnt. You shall not be burnt. This is what God. So we got to mark that. If you look at my Bible, there are pages down here, there are colors there, because I have not been the Lord. That's the only way we can serve. Your home set leader can't do it for you, your worship leader can't do it for you, you have to do it for yourself. It's your garden. Take responsibility for it. And it is so easy when you get discouraged to neglect your life spiritually and allow the weeds to grow. Because God didn't come through for me. You may be just one day away from your miracle. I don't know. 2 days away, 3 days away, I don't know. And I'm reminded, when I came to Australia, trying to get a job, I'm going here, going there. I remember walking down Heatherton Road with my briefcase. In Sri Lanka you carry a briefcase and you walk and you take all your papers in it. And I walked this way and I had walked the wrong direction because I'm a left-hander. I looked at the railway upside down and I couldn't go for the interview and I was discouraged. And then we decided we're going to go back because my job was still there. They were keeping it for a month or so because they felt, he might come back. So I've been in the company for 10 years. So let's go back. Let's go back to what's comfortable. Let's go back to what's convenient. Let's go back to what we can handle. We want to be in control, whether we like it or not. That's human nature. And then we decided, a friend of mine in Sri Lanka said, look, you can't buy tickets from here, but I'll get the tickets from South Africa next Monday. You give me a call, I'll buy the tickets and you can go back. We were not in the church. We were there in Noble Park. I was trying to find employment. There was no church at that time. And then my wife got a word from Psalms. Man goeth forth to his work in the morning and return in the evening. Now I could have got that word and said, I'll go to work, I'll come back, God's going to do it for me. No, I still have to look for a job. I still have to ring, I still have to apply. Oh my gosh, I must have gone for 200 interviews. And they talk to you as if you're going to get the job tomorrow morning. So you have a great sense of buoyancy and expectancy and next day. And then I got a call at 10 o'clock in the morning, come for an interview, Cheltenham. How do you go to Cheltenham? Go to Noble Park, take a train, you have to work all the sums out because, we didn't know the front end of a train from the back end. But I went, and I went for the interview and he said, okay, you get the job. He didn't look at the CV. He didn't look at it. Because God made the seeing eyes blind, He made the blind eyes see. Right? He works both ways sometimes. And so, before 5 o'clock, we got the call. You start work Monday. Wow! Imagine if we had gone back. All this won't be here. So I'm not saying it's easy. We used to go to the park, in Noble Park, on Jackson's Road, Browns Road, and cry. We serve you, God. We're so faithful to you, God. We're so consistent and God come through. All things in His time. Now I understand that. Now I didn't get it. So I don't know, God's going to work in your context, because your context is unique to you. But there's one thing I want to tell you is, He will not let go of you if you choose to continue to be persistent and push through for your miracle. Because nobody can push through for your miracle as much as you shall be.